Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. DeLauro, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, as I previewed in my opening remarks, I first wanted to ask you about the House, what I view as a misguided allocation for fiscal year 2025 and the impact on the State Department's critical diplomacy and development work. I was interested in the line of questioning with all the initiatives that we are talking about with regard to the State Department that need to be discussed and need to be worked on. I think at the foundation of that is what kind of resources does the department have to move forward. The recently announced top-line funding level for state and foreign ops for the appropriation bill proposes a nearly 12% cut. That's compared to the 2024 enacted level. It's on top of an almost 6% cut from fiscal years 2023 to 2024. Let me be extremely clear. Nearly 12% cut to the SFOP's budget is a staggering $7 billion. Billion with a B. So I three questions in this regard, Mr. Secretary. You're deeply involved in conflicts in Ukraine, Middle East, maintaining a competitive advantage against China, trying to deal with other food assistance efforts around the globe. You have to conduct its day-to-day business from D.C. You're in almost every country in the world. How would losing $7 billion from the budget affect your department's diplomatic capabilities and the implementation of U.S. foreign policy?
Thank you. It would severely undermine our efforts across the board. As you said, this would take us back to FY 2014 funding levels. In other words, almost a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And in terms of our hiring, in terms of our support for our diplomats, for our locally engaged staff, which is 2/3 of our employee base, in terms of our operations, in terms of our programs, this would have I don't want to exaggerate by saying devastating, but close to that impact on what we're able to do to actually advance the interests of the American people. If you look at the big things that we're trying to do to effectively engage the strategic competition with China, including by creating better alternatives for countries that are looking to choose between our path and theirs, it would severely penalize those efforts. Our ability to continue to sustain support with our allies and partners for Ukraine and pushing back against Russian aggression, that would be severely undermined. Our ability to address a wide variety of global challenges that have impacts here in the United States, including things like the fentanyl crisis, as well as irregular migration, as well as dealing with climate and food security. Would each and every one of those be affected? No, because we'd have to make incredibly hard decisions, but some of them inevitably would be severely penalized. But let me be even more parochial about it, just to cite a few examples. Embassy security. We're trying to have more embassies in more places to make sure that we're fully represented. We want to open new embassies in the Pacific Islands, in the Caribbean. We need to secure those embassies. We would have trouble sustaining the current security levels for our existing embassies if we had these cuts. And then if you insulated those security programs, well, then of course the cuts would have to be felt elsewhere. Our ability to expand our diplomatic presence would probably be cut. The exchange programs that so many in Congress I know support and appreciate would face significant cuts. We probably have something like 600 or 700 fewer IVLP participants, curtailing one of our most valuable tools to connect with people around the world.
IDLP.
This is the International Visitors Leadership Program. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We would have, I think, we want to open new passport offices in this country, in different places, to respond to what has been historic demand. We would not be able to do that. I can go down the list, and we'll obviously provide this list to Congress in the interest of time. I won't do it now. But both in terms of the big muscle movements that we need to make and very specific things that we want to sustain or grow for the American people, we would be severely penalized.
So we're looking at a loss of personnel, of frontline critical personnel, and thereby, just hurting our ability to pursue our own interests. And the number of priorities that would have to be put on a back burner. And if you can, Mr. Secretary, I know how busy you are, and thereby your staff is busy, but I think it would be very, very helpful if this committee could understand what this $7 billion cut, what is the consequences? I'm not looking for percentages, I'm not looking for numbers, but the actual consequences on American foreign policy, our diplomacy, our stature in world leadership.
Be happy to provide that to you.
Thank you. I yield back.
And thank the ranking member. This